go to public comment. This is the time and place for any member of the public to come forward and speak on items that are not on today's agenda. I do have two cards. The first one is Mr. Tom Reed.
Tom Reed, 1060 Parr Avenue, Lemoore. Mayor, council members, I'd like to read to you some excerpts of a letter from a dreamer. Dear Dad, it's me again. I forgot to ask you a few things in my last letter, so I'll ask them now. First, could you get me some books on the Corvette and some color samples for me? Second, please send me the price of insurance for the Corvette. If you'd let me put it on your policy, it would cut my insurance in half, on that car anyway, and I'll pay the premium. Well, that's all for now. Please give me an answer on these things. I'm depriving myself of a lot of things so I can purchase this car, so please help. That's all I ask. And when I turn 21, I'll sign everything over to my name. And I turn 21 in January. You know you can't get hurt because I'm sure to have the money, and I've already saved a lot just in case I don't get a good job right away. Bye for now, your son Danny. P.S. Just received a letter from you with the amount of my account. Does that include the money I sent this month? Write and tell me soon, okay? 2 days later, on March 12th, 1967, Army Specialist 4th Class Danny Rhodes, son of Lemoore resident Speed Rhodes, was killed in action while saving members of his unit. For his actions that day, he was awarded the Bronze Star with V for Valor. I just thought you might like to know, lest we forget the privileges that we have today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have another card from Ms. Lashen for public comment.
Connie Wolashin, 523 C Street in Lemoore. I have some questions. What was the settlement that was announced before the settlement that the city paid for Dowd? It came out of closed session, and I didn't write it down, and I didn't see it written in the minutes. But anyway, and then $7,500 was paid to Mr. Dowd to settle a suit because Billy Siegel didn't pay his attorney's fees. Is that correct? Is that the $7,500?
You want to answer that?
I can answer if council wants me to.
Yes.
Please. Okay. What was reported out was a settlement. There was a suit for non-payment of fees by the Risk Management Authority, who is the insurance for the city, and the Dowd was Mr. Siegel's attorney. The Risk Management had agreed to provide coverage for Mr. Siegel during the Martin case, and the settlement was to settle the remaining fees owed. That settlement, it was for $7,500, and it settled all claims, including any claims for reimbursement by the RMA.
Okay, so the city had paid for this attorney out of IRMA. I think is that the
RMA paid for it.
Yeah.
The city didn't pay for it. The RMA paid for it.
And then, but they didn't cover. But then I thought Mr. Siegel was supposed to be paying for his own attorney, Mr. Dowd.
The insurance company paid for it.
Okay, so the city paid for it. Okay. All right. Yeah, because I was just wondering. So there's no way that the city could get the money from Mr. Siegel's estate. No. That's okay. All right. And the warrant registry doesn't list any expenditures for the city council, but last month I thought I saw over $30,000 paid to attorney's fees, and I wanted to know what the status of the Voorhees property is, and it's a, Ms. Blair still identifies herself as city councilwoman, City of Lemoore, on social media. I thought that was part of the censure, was that she was going to stop doing that. And there's an oversight board. How did that come about, and how was that filled? And then a city manager, is there an oversight board for you? Because Ms. Blair was on, and that was one of the positions she was removed from.
Which oversight board? I don't know which one you're talking about, Ms. Valajan.
Well, how many oversight boards do you have?
Probably talking about how council members are assigned to different boards and committees, and that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Well, it was, but I was wondering about why the city manager needs a oversight board. And I've never heard
City
of it
manager
before.
does not have an oversight board.
Okay, then I read it wrong. Okay.
Well, there is one on our, if you look at the,
But not for me.
okay,
Yeah.
my mistake.
Can we get an answer to her?
On the Voorhees?
Yeah.
So on the Voorhees properties, the agreement that was made between Mr. Voorhees and the city was that he would start construction and end construction of the road by April 1st of 2018. If he complied with that, then he could get up to $400,000 in some fees back towards the project. The road has not been completed, so therefore there is no agreement on the Voorhees deal. Mr. Voorhees still owns the property, but there are no incentives at this point unless it went back to council and council choose to extend to that, or he requested that extension.
Okay, because I thought that if he didn't comply with that, then the city could ask for it back.
But
Anyway.
potentially we could, but the RD or the oversight boards have switched. It's no longer a community board on that. It's county, and that is not something that staff has brought to council.
Okay, but it's something that,
Potentially.
okay, all right. And then the last one was, is there a pool of religious leaders to lead the invocation? Because it seems like,
We have one, but I think the only ones that have responded are the ones that have been showing up. We do have a list.
okay.
Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
And so do you contact other leaders, or do they just show up?
We contact them.
Do you?
We have a list that's set up for 6 months.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Is there any other public comment? I know we don't have any other cards, but is there anyone else that would like to come forward this time? No? Okay.
You all know me, Holly Blair. I actually wanted to take a moment to thank our firefighters because I had asked to put it on the agenda. I remember asking on the dais while the firefighters were here and it still hadn't been done, so I decided to just do it myself. So I wrote a personal thank you note, handwritten, for each and every one of our firefighters. So. I just wanted to put it on public record that the city thanks them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will go to, there are no ceremonial presentations, so we will go to department and city manager reports.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So we'll start off with Jason Glick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. A few updates. Park staff will begin trimming palms at Heritage Park. We are currently getting quotes to trim the palms that our boom truck cannot reach. There's currently 88 palm trees at Heritage Park. Saturday, September 8th is opening day for flag football. We currently have 301 children registered. That's up from 262 last year. So pretty proud of that. Our staff worked really hard at marketing that program. Saturday, September 22nd is a K-Fun concert at Kings Lions Park. It's a ZZ Top cover band. On Saturday, September 29th at 7 p.m. we have Opera on the Green at the Lemoore Golf Course. On Saturday, October 6th is a senior prom at the Civic at 6:30. It's $10 per couple. And just a reminder, our annual golf tournament for the Youth Scholarship Fund has been moved to Saturday, October 27th at the Lemoore Golf Course. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a
Thank you.
had a question for Parks and Rec. We had a mother-son event that was canceled. Can you give me some information on why that was, please?
We did not get enough people registered to break even on the event.
Okay,
So, thank you.
thank you.
Frank Rivera?
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. You may remember on May 1st at the council meeting, Corolla put on a presentation updating you on the master plans for sewer and water. I spoke to both Corolla today along with our city engineer, and they plan on wrapping it up as they promised in October. So we're hoping to bring that to council with the final review either on the October 16th meeting or the November 16th meeting. So I just wanted to update you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Then, good evening, Mayor and council members again. I have a couple updates, starting with there's a Western Conference and Deal Making for ICSC that's taking place in Anaheim from October 8th through the 10th. City staff did not budget to go to this event as we go to the big regional one in Vegas, but I was wondering if there's an interest in any council members that would like to attend that event. Just know that it is not budgeted, so it would be an item that we would have to go and pull from the reserves to go. Cost would be about $1,500 per person.
When is it? When did you say it was?
I'm just looking for consensus. If somebody wants to go.
When is it?
October 8th through the 10th.
'Cause I know you went last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You went last time. Did you have any interest in going this time?
I'm going to be attending the regional one in Vegas. That's the
Okay.
bigger one. Get a little more bang for your buck on that one. So we're not planning on attending this one as staff. Okay.
I might be interested in going. Can you tell me a little bit more about what would be involved?
It's really about networking and deal making. It's really an educational forum to go in and learn about retail establishments and some economic development opportunities that are there. It's
So
really
like
a networking.
More like a learning place or to
It's
learn?
both. There's all kinds of guest speakers. There's education. There's classes you can attend, but then there's also the deal making. So anybody looking to expand in California, for instance, would be down there with booths and have representatives. It's a way to get your name out.
I'd like to go.
If, I have something. Now we have Amanda. She's doing our economic development now.
She's helping us.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be who of us to send her.
Instead of a council member?
I'm just.
Well, not to mention the censure, I don't know if that would qualify for representing the city. It's just part of the censure. We might have to think about that.
Then why
Ca-
did you ask in the first place? then?
Council, this item is going a little beyond, it really should be a report. I would suggest you put it on as agenda item for discussion.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
see that. And then we had a grand opening. La Paria opened up a Mexican restaurant over in Hanford on Mona Road in the old Fatty Elwards location. Nice event on Friday. And then I'm sure people have heard, but we are getting a skate shop here in Lemoore. And the cool thing about that is it's been picked up not only locally, but the World Surf League has been promoting that business in our little town internationally, as well as the big paper in Australia also is posting articles about the new surf shop opening in our little town. So pretty cool. Just wanted to give that update. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
When does it open?
He's shooting for November, just in time for Christmas.
He's trying to be open by this week.
This weekend? Okay, that changed. My last email said November.
Yeah, I went by there today and he was setting stuff up and he already has his report and stuff. So
Wow. Okay.
He's trying to get open.
Where is it located?
He's open, 321 East Street, so we're right across the street from our office, in the ski park.
Right.
It's just a soft opening, and then he's going to have a grand opening.
He's next door to, he's where Continental Jones was. And Cape. Yeah. So yeah, he's gonna have supplies, merchandise, different things like that.
Okay.
May I say something also?
Do you mind coming up, Bruce?
Literally have to.
We're supposed to, so, yeah.
Bruce German, 1210 Paradise Loop. Also, I was contacted by the World Surf League last week, 2 weeks ago, and last Sunday took them down to the firehouse and they want to look at the Model T. I showed them our 36. They were supposed to be there about 10 minutes. We stayed about an hour. And they've sent a link, or going to send me a link when it gets up, but it's going to be on their website.
Standing.
So anyway,
Thank you.
so that's just one more thing.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
nice.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let them talk.
Okay. All right.
I don't like to talk to them.
That's it? That's it. Okay, we'll move on to consent calendar, section 3. We have 4 items. Council, are there any items on the consent calendar that you would like to have pulled for further discussion?
I'd like to pull items 3-2 and 3-4, please.
Okay, 3-2 and 3-4. That leaves 3-1 and 3-3 on the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve those 2 items? As part
Make a
of the consent
motion to
calendar?
approve 3-1 and 3-3 as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Brown and a second by Mr. Chittister to approve the consent calendar, which at this time consists of 3-1, which is the minutes for last August 21st, and 3-3, which is approval resolution 2018. That's in support of Cal Prop 3 Water Supply and Water Quality Bond Act of 2018. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Chittister?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Those items are passed. Item 3-2 now will be pulled for further discussion.
Frank?
Good evening again. Is there anything specifically that I can answer?
Just a recap of where Zone 3 is, because this is LLMD Zone 3, so it's a lighting and landscaping district, and
Yes.
where that zone lies for clarity. for the audience.
That is on Silverado. It would be west of 19th Avenue and east of, I don't remember that far street, part of the Daily subdivision. We've been contacted several times by the property owner. She was concerned, as you see the pictures show, that the electric service panel that is mounted within the block wall has cracked, and so on her side there is exposed conduits. And so we were hoping that with the 218 hearing we would have had a little money with that budget to repair it. Unfortunately, as you know, it failed. So we're hoping to use $850 to repair the block wall. So basically he'll take apart the block around the service panel and then re-mortar, rebar it so that it's back to how it used to be.
It'll be safer that way then.
It'll
for
be
the
safer
public.
that way, yes.
Okay. So it's really a safety concern more than anything else at this
Yes.
point? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve item 3-2.
Is there any public comment? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it back.
I'll make
for-
a motion to approve 3-2 as written.
Okay. So there's a motion by Mr. Chittister. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Ms. Blair to approve item 3-2. Mr. Chittister.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well.
Thank you.
Motion
Thank you.
passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval, or no, we go to item 3-4, which is approval employment agreement for the chief of police.
Good evening, Mayor. So item 3-4 is the employment agreement for Chief of Police Darrell Smith. I do need to point out in the financial consideration, we posted the annual salary plus benefits similar to management employees. There is a little bit of a difference. In the original contracts, the chief negotiated that his medical is paid in full. So whereas the city gets $1,350, he's about $1,706 per month on his medical. And then his raises are also dependent upon the contracts negotiated by the Police Officers Association. Was there anything specific, Ms. Blair?
I was just wondering why we were pulling it like right now, all of a sudden.
Just
Why we were
timing.
going over it.
his contract's due to expire in the next several months, so the existing contract expires in February of 19. So
So it expires in February of 19, so you're putting on the agenda now because Got to get an early jump on it?
Because why?
We need to get an early jump on that?
Just to get it, it was on the list of things to do. It's been on my list for quite some time. Technically, on these contracts, they like to come 9 months prior to expiration, so I'm actually a little behind the 8 ball.
Okay. I'd really like it if we could please put back on the list a day of appreciation for our firefighters. Please put that back on the list.
Okay.
I know I've asked for it. Thank you.
Okay. Is that it?
Is there any questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, bring it back to the council for motion, discussion.
Make a motion to approve 3-4 as written.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Brown and a second by Mr. Chedister to approve 3-4. Approval employment agreement for Chief of Police, Chief Smith. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Chedister?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
No.
And I vote aye. Motion is passed.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to section 4. The first one, these are public hearings, 4-1. The first one.
Could I make a motion to table this item until the next meeting?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion to table this item until the next meeting. Is there any further discussion?
I think there's needs to be more information before we go forward.
I
Okay.
agree.
So, let's see, we have Mr. Chedister,
Aye.
Ms. Blair,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. This motion, or this item will be tabled till the next meeting. Thank you. So we go to another public hearing. This is 4-2. It's the first reading of ordinance 2018-07, amending Article A of Chapter 7 of the City Lemoore Municipal Code relating to water use and service. Ms. Corder.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This is a new ordinance. When staff was reviewing this, we noticed some items that needed to be updated and changed. Some of those items are a clarification regarding the deposit and how the deposit will be held by the city, establishing charges and rates for customers outside the city limits, adding language that would require the guarantee of the owner of the property for utility bills and that the property will be paid, adding language clarifying penalties, discontinuance of service, and how debts will be collected, and adding language for vacant premises and notification of the utility billing, and finally adding language clarifying that the water service shall not be furnished free of charge. Any questions, or just a little cleanup of the items?
So
Ordinance.
as far as the debt,
Yes, sir.
when people are not paying their bills, what's the difference now, and what are we going to be doing differently?
Okay, so what we're gonna start doing is, if this is approved, we would collect a deposit. So we would collect a deposit, and then when people leave, or they haven't paid their bill and they're past due, we could take that amount out of their deposit, which would reduce the number of things that we have to send to, because what happens is a lot of people leave and they don't realize that we bill a month behind for the water usage, a month behind. So they get these little tiny bills of $17, $20 and stuff like that, that we could take out of their deposit and then send them a deposit check. So,
Okay.
or the deposit would be applied to the account after 12 months of full and on-time payments.
All right.
Wow, I like this idea. Very nice.
No other questions?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing at this time. Is there any members of the public? I think I do have Ms. Woloshyn. You have a card up here. Would you like to come forward?
Connie Woloshyn. Are there meters on every single house in Lemoore, even the old ones?
I don't know that. No, I think.
No, so there's some
No,
houses.
there are some unmetered residences. They're few. The single-family residents, we're knocking those out and installing meters in all those. But where we have some businesses with shared meters downtown, you have multiple people hooked up to a
Right.
single meter.
Right, okay. Yeah, because I was wondering about that. And then what is the difference between, like, I can ask for a flat rate or a metered rate? Is that a choice?
No,
Or-
so
okay. Because I thought I read that. And
no.
I'm
The
like,
way
wait a minute.
when we had to do the 218 hearing, we had to come up with the justification for water rates, and during the process when council passed it, we were applying basically no meter charge and just charging a volumetric rate. So basically, people that used large volumes of water and had 12-inch meters paid the same as a resident. So as part of the hearing, so the flat rate is for your size meter, so you pay that every month. So
Right,
for
okay.
most houses, I think it's 17 bucks.
No. That's something different. In the ordinance, a flat rate will apply to someone who does not have a meter. A metered rate is going to apply to someone who has a meter. So for those businesses or houses that don't have meters, there's a flat rate charge.
Right, so if they have a flat rate, but they have a swimming pool, they pay the same amount?
Until
as
they
I
get
do?
metered, yes.
Okay, are you identifying those places and putting meters on them?
The city is.
Okay, are you, okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
Good questions.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No? Okay, so I will close the public hearing. Bring it back to the council now for vote, motion, discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve item 4-2 as proposed.
I'll second.
So there's a motion by Mr. Chedister and a second by Ms. Blair. Mr. Chedister?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well.
Thank you.
Item is passed. Thank you. Moving on to new business, section 5. 5-1 is report and recommendation agreement with Carollo for water treatment plan project preliminary design. Mr. Olson.
Council, before city manager goes on to present the report, you received, and there's copies at the clerk's desk, of a new contract for Carollo. The difference between the contract that was posted and the contract that has been provided to you tonight is that the liquidated damages clause was removed, and a timeline for compliance with the projects are now in the agreement, such that because this project relates to a project that the state has stated the city must complete by a certain deadline, we have put projects deadlines in the agreement to ensure that this project, we can meet the state's deadlines, basically.
Okay.
So this is for the approved agreement with Carollo Engineers to provide design engineering services for the preliminary design of 3 groundwater treatment plants in the city and authorize the city manager to execute. As you know, we've been under a TTHM compliance order that came out in 2014. We were supposed to be compliant by 2017. The city has since gone in and received 2 extensions. We now have a treatment system that's been piloted and approved, so now it's a matter of getting it implemented and installed. So there'll be 3 separate plants within the city, one 3,500 gallons a minute, one 7,000 gallons per minute, and another one at 1,200 gallons per minute, located at wells 7, 11, and 12 respectively. So what Carollo will do is get the documents ready to go to formal bid to get these services started so we can get this project underway. Okay.
Any questions? Council.
Glad it's finally here.
Finally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to council for motion.
Make a motion to approve 5-1 as written.
Council, I would ask that if you prepare to approve this motion, that you approve it as modified by the agreement that was passed tonight.
I need to correct my statement to approve as modified.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Brown to approve the agreement as modified, which we now have a copy of, and a second by Mr. Chedister. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Chedister?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion is passed. Okay, so let's go to item 5-2, report and recommendation. This is for approval of the recommended city positions for the 2018 League of California Cities Annual Conference Resolutions. Mr. Olson.
Good evening again. So on June 19th, 2018, City Council approved Councilmember Brown as the voting delegate for the League of California Cities Conference, which is September 12th through 14th in Long Beach, California. A couple of the 2 items that the league will be discussing for votes. There's one resolution, excuse me, it says resolution of the League of California Cities calling upon the League to respond to the increasing vulnerabilities to local municipal authority control and revenue and explore the preparation of a ballot measure and or constitutional amendment that would further strengthen local democracy and authority. What that means in a nutshell is they're trying to control the amount of direction that can come down from the state level that could negatively impact a city. So what this is the league usually gets involved when cities can be impacted by legislation that may not be very good for the local economies. They don't have a plan at this point, but they're just saying in the near future they would like to get involved and start drafting some legislation to give more local control when it comes to passing bills and kind of drive it from the cities up versus the state down. So the league is in support of this resolution. Staff recommends that we support this resolution at this time. The other one is resolution number 2, and it's a resolution of the League of California Cities declaring its commitment to support and repeal the preemption in California Food and Agricultural Code 11501.1 that prevents local government from regulating pesticides. Right now, the Food and Agricultural Code kind of says what we can and can't use. This measure would basically allow cities to determine what they want to use for pesticides and take back control. The league does not have a position on this bill at this point. Somebody's going to them and asking them to bring this about to their member organizations. They're basically talking about the the methodology in which many people use for rodent control is not something the city engages in and or uses. So this does not really affect us at all. And being the League of California Cities doesn't have a position on it, I would ask, and staff would ask that we abstain from voting on this one. Nobody in the city is an expert in pesticide controls and things of that nature, so that's kind of where we're at. And again, this would be one that they're looking to have research, invest money, spend money to really determine the effects of these anticoagulants that they use in rodent control. But at this point, the league is not involved.
I would just like to ask, if Councilmember Brown ask a question while there, or at least find out if it were to go through, if we would, anything we said wouldn't supersede what's already a known toxin, like the FDA says. This would just be things that we could additionally put on, right? I'm curious, like as far as the new legislation, if that's being added or not.
Yeah,
if you
so
could just ask.
They're wanting to repeal the agricultural code as is for the application of it, and then explore options and other methodologies in the future for pesticide control. So I don't know what the total impact of that would or would not be. I know that from the city standpoint, we do not use anticoagulants in our parks and rec nor in our golf course. So there's zero impact to us at this point.
It was just a question. While he's there, if you could ask, that's all.
Any other questions?
So I'd say that we go for resolution 1 and just not even vote on resolution 2 and give Mr. Brown the authority.
Well, resolution 2 would be the direction that we abstain from it. That's still a direction,
To
right?
abstain, yes.
I certainly like the idea of the league advocating for cities' local control, even though we are a charter city, which is designed to allow us more autonomy and independence from the state. It seems like the state is always finding ways to get around that, like the prevailing wage situation and so forth. So anything that League of Cities can do for us in that regard is definitely to our benefit. So I'm certainly in favor of voting in that way for resolution 1 anyway. So Mr. Brown, you will be representing us there, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Neal will also be making the trip.
Okay.
He's on that commission.
All right.
Board.
So members of the public, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item 5-2 where we would abstain from resolution 2 and basically concur with Resolution 1.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so there's a motion by Mr. Chittister and a second by Ms. Blair to approve item 5-2 as written. Mr. Chittister?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion is passed. Thank you. So now we will move on to Section 6, which is City Council reports and requests. Ms. Blair?
I just have one thing to report, or actually a comment I'd like to make on behalf of myself on this council. When we were meeting over in the other facility, I was quite embarrassed that our city attorney had to ask if it would be all right to remove her jacket. It was very warm. And this is a woman whom we put millions of dollars in her care in our contracts, a very capable person, somebody the city has to trust with immense decision-making abilities. And yet she couldn't somehow make the ability to, whether to keep the jacket on or off, because she was worried about what the other council members might say as far as that goes. And I just hope that everybody recognizes that point of view and how ridiculous it sounds, that she can't make that decision on her own, but she's going to make decisions for us that cost millions of dollars. And I thought that it was quite insulting, and I really would hope that that doesn't happen again. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
I'm gonna leave that go. I just want to say, city attorney, you can take your if you're hot, take your jacket off. If you're cold, put it on. Okay. I have nothing to report.
All right. Mr. Chittister?
No report.
Okay, I have a few things to report on. It's been a busy week for me as a member of the City Council. Starting off with the grand opening at La Paria, I was very pleased with that. I think that business is going to be very successful. Just walking up there and seeing the enthusiasm, the resources that they put into that place is awesome. Just to give you a little background on that, the owners, our husband and wife team, they've been in the restaurant business for quite some time. As far as their family, the guy's parents own the restaurant over here by Best Buy, and the woman, her parents own a restaurant in Hanford. So they've got a lot of experience, and the interior that they've made is just phenomenal. So I certainly hope that people go out and support them, because it's going to be a really good place and good for us too. Number two, let's see, Stratford. We went to Stratford. Nathan and I attended an event in Stratford last Thursday, I believe it was. Right. The city of Stratford, as you know, lost their water. Both their wells went down, which is obviously a dire situation. I don't know if we could imagine as city residents here if our water was to go down. Thankfully, we have a really strong water system, really good operators. That'll probably never happen here, but to wake up in the morning and not have water is pretty concerning for a lot of people. There's 300 residents, 300 homes, and about 900 residents that were impacted. So the city, along with several other organizations, were out there almost immediately upon hearing it. I know we all got a text from Nathan Sunday morning, I believe, when you heard about it. And we were, what the city did was we actually provided water through one of our our hydrants on the south end of town into water trucks that were transported out to the community of Stratford, and they were using it that way. A lot of organizations were bringing pallets of water out there for people. So the group out there, Revitalizing Stratford, thought it would be a good thing for them to say thank you to everybody that was out there. So we were out there in that regard, but we were glad we could do it. Friday night, this coming Friday, is our annual Salute to Ag, which the Chamber of Commerce here puts on and has for many years. I will be representing the city and be presenting our recognitions to the Agriculturist of the Year and the Ag Supporter of the Year. This will be my second year, and it's really an honor to do that, knowing that we are an agricultural community. It's always good to remind ourselves of those kinds of things. So I'll be doing that Friday night. Last week I attended, I'm the vice chairman on Kings County Association of Governments. Normally the things are pretty routine that we talk about there. It's primarily about transportation funding. A lot of those things are pre-programmed. We don't have a lot of leeway on it. But in this case, there was an item that came up for discussion about Proposition 6, which is on the ballot in November, whether or not that body, the Kings County Association of Governments, should or should not support that. After a very lengthy discussion, the board consists of members from the City Council of Hanford, Avenel, Corcoran, Lemoore, and 2 members from the Board of Supervisors. We had a very good discussion on that. My point of view was knowing the discussion that we had just had not long ago about increasing our sales tax and how people felt about that. I thought it would be consistent for me to vote for Prop 6, and it's a little bit confusing. Prop 6 is on the ballot to repeal the gas tax, which was just passed not long ago. It's brought a lot of money in for transportation purposes, but there is this proposition that would ask to repeal that. So the question came up after discussion. We decided as a board to remain neutral, so we did not take a position on that particular proposition. Remind everybody that this weekend, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, is the big competition out at the Surf Ranch. They're expecting upwards of about 10,000 people, so I encourage you to go out and see what's going on. It's a really cool place if you haven't been there. The tickets are still on sale as far as I understand. So if you guys have a chance to go out there, I think it would be really nice to support them. Next week on September 11th, I was invited to go to Liberty School. I'll be speaking to a group of the Associated Student Body on leadership. So I was very thankful for that invitation from Miss Oliveira, who's the teacher for that group. And I'm going to be talking about, I got 45 minutes to talk to them about leadership. So my theme is going to be about character in our leaders, how important that is. Let's see, last thing, Crystal Hernandez. Dr. Crystal Hernandez just notified me today via text that she's going to be interviewed by the Hanford Sentinel regarding the restaurant the Champions Recovery Group is opening out there here on D Street, and she's going to mention what a great experience she had with our staff when it came to planning that project, especially when she had the opportunity to deal with another city on that. But the difference that she saw here was greatly appreciated, and she's on her way to opening that. If you guys, it's the Blue Door where the old Blue Door used to be. They're doing a lot of remodeling there. It's going to look really nice, really good opportunity for people in that group to get some work experience. But more importantly, just demonstrates what our staff does and how important it is for us to be that way where we say yes. We think of ways to say yes when it comes to businesses coming here. And I think that's just an indication, like I said before, the incremental things that this city is doing for economic development. We really need to take note of that and keep that in our mind. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Just like to say thanks to Jason. He always wanted to be a color guard, so outstanding duties tonight. And I apologize for the little disruption. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, we know that.
Man. Thought you were gonna
Congratulations, Daryl.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll have something for you. I was gonna just throw a flag up on my computer, but I thought, man.
saw that